Planning Commission of India has said that for the Indian economy to grow at 9%, the power sector must grow at 8.1% per annum. With this statistical figure in the fore, it is today imperative to assess the current situation of the power sector, the challenges faced and its future growth agents. Recognizing the importance of the power sector and its growth drivers, TSPL organized the inaugural event of the Energize Awards, rewarding the continued contribution of the industry's stalwarts. Experts from across the country participated in the event, shedding light on various important aspects of the power sector, stressing on its importance towards fostering India's infrastructure.
As you see, India's generation sector has made a significant progress in the last few years, especially in the last decade. We have almost managed to add double the capacity compared to last year. 2002, we were almost 100 plus gigawatt, and 2012 we are almost 200 plus gigawatt. And also our consumption, even now, which is one of the least in the world, whether it's a developed or underdeveloped economies, we are just 813 kilowatt hours. In many parts, even we don't have even what you call a lifeline. Lifeline is 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening. That's called lifeline hours. We don't even have that kind of power supply. In spite of this tremendous growth in the last 1 decade, we still have one of the least per capita consumption, 813. That also gives a lot of scope for this sector. While we have added almost double our capacity, it is still insufficient to meet India's growth targets. Our demand for power is increasing almost 8 to 10%. With industrialization and a lot of urbanization, the appetite for electricity is still going to go up. The energy deficit of 8 to 9% and the peak demand supply of close to 9 to 10% for this year is expected to go further. Thank you and good evening.
Today we are in a situation where there is surplus power. Of course, Maharashtra, we are out of load shedding. There is no load shedding except for a few areas, and I'll come to that. But there is load shedding in most of the country. Where was the confusion? And that is where the challenge now is. The next decade's challenge emerges from this. The first challenge that you ask me if is going to be is the distribution sector. One of the reasons why you have power and you still have load shedding is payment. Because most of the power companies are not ready to sell unless you give cash. And a lot of power companies are lost by selling power and not collecting cash. But distribution companies have no cash. Why has this situation arisen? Since independence, unfortunately, we have told our people, and I'll be very candid, हमने अपने लोगों को ये कहा कि सरकार का जो भी कुछ है वो फुकट का है, फ्री है, उसका पैसे देने की जरूरत ही नहीं. So the first challenge is going to come from is that we'll have to change the psyche of the people that yes, government services need to be paid for. Unless you don't pay for the services, you are not getting power per services, you will not get quality services, you will not get reliable services. And that's the first challenge in front of people like us, people like you. Second challenge that comes in is going to be the tariffs. Ab Maharashtra mein we've listening to a second debate. Bijli to hai, par mehengi hai. Unfortunately, the tariffs in this state or any other state has become very skewed. For example, in Maharashtra, my cost of supply is 5 rupees 56 paisa. I buy power at 3 rupees 30 paisa. I add my losses, I add my O&M costs, transmission costs, interest, depreciation, and it touches 556. Do you know how much I sell it at? The cheapest that I sell it at is 1 rupee. To whom? The farmers. And they consume 25% of my power. And do you know how much I sell it at the extreme end? To hoardings at 18 rupees. But below that, if you see industry, commercial, for example, this hotel is paying almost 8 to 9 rupees for per unit of power. Third challenge. Whichever conference I go to, everywhere we are talking of technology. We are talking of how important we are in terms of technology. किसी भी कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाके मैंने कभी ये नहीं सुना कि कंज्यूमर के बारे में कोई बात करे. What does the consumer want? कभी कंज्यूमर को हमने सेंटर पे रखा. And this is one industry which touches every consumer. in Maharashtra, have 2.5 crore consumers. I enter every home once a month. हर घर में महीने में एक दिन मैं जाता ही जाता हूं आपके घर में मीटर पढ़ने. I am entering every home. Is there any industry which touches you more than this?
The event saw a stellar panel of industry experts highlight the present scenario in the sector and discuss and deliberate the growth path for the sector.
Mr. Venu, what's your view on the role that the smart grid will play in improving the effectiveness of utilities?
I think it's got a great role to play in the utilities, especially on the operations side. First of all, what is a smart grid? It has got various definitions. But according to me, the simple way to understand for anybody, smart grid is anything you can control is called a smart grid. Suppose it is SCADA, there you can control the process, it's called a smart grid. And the HVDC, you can control the power flow, it's called a smart grid. So it's in a way that, is a simple way to understand that. What does it do for the basically to the utilities? It can understand, it can reduce the technical losses to the great extent. It gives a lot of visibility of their entire network and pain areas, and where they can work on that. Which are the areas, especially the SCADA and the DMS, the distribution management side, which will give a much more, because today every unit is sold in terms of the revenue. It's a huge revenue income to the distribution companies in that.
If you look at the cities which have been identified for running a pilot for smart grid, what are the key aspects on which we decide whether this pilot is successful or not, and how do we ensure that we develop a robust business case for the entire utility?
Yeah. Right now, what we being pilot cases wherever they are taking is primarily seeing how is the load concentrated, whether the industrial loads and this kind of mix, and predominantly in the consumer feeders, where is high energy consumed customers are located. In those kind of things, the pilots are being run across the countries in several states, but it is limited to only to the tier 1 cities, I would say that.